Masterfully Navigating Life's Emotional Whirlwind. We're your hosts, Gary and Ross, and we have to tell you that we're especially excited about this episode. And the reason being is that because it gives us an opportunity to share something with you that, very few people are talking about. Well, at least talking about in a constructive manner. So let me ask you a question. We all know that current events have caused an incredible disruption in many of our daily lives, whether it be health concerns, work problems, or the accessibility to the routine of our daily lives. And although none of us was the cause of this Category 7 storm, we currently or certainly are experiencing the aftermath of its effects. We see on the news and on social media the isolated situations where someone has run amok, snapping under the pressure, unable to take it anymore. It's divided families, broken relationships, and upheaved business as usual. This has affected everyone, not just with you. And as we have said many times, you must stop looking outside yourselves for the answers or the solutions. Crises like this have ravaged civilization for centuries. We've read about them. Some of you watching might have even lived through them. So what would you say if I said to you that we have changed technologies that nobody seems to be talking about or want to talk about? They only want to talk about the fear and the heartbreak that many have experienced, but never seem to offer any semblance of a solution. Perhaps because it can't be bottled and sold? Perhaps because fear and confusion create an opening, an opportunity? For what? It's difficult to say. But what we can say is it doesn't have to be this way. So when you understand that all that you are experiencing, the pain, the anxiety, the loss, and the fear, all that you feel is generated from within. You need to understand your ability to choose how it will affect you and no one else. Stop looking outside yourselves for the answers. It's time to stand in the eye of the storm, not once in a while when you feel like it, but every day, every hour, every minute. The currents of the storm are strong and will try to pull you in, and you must passively resist. Loved ones will try and pull you in, and you resist. You resist until it's no longer resistance, but rather peace. Because you may not realize that the turbulence that you endure, which seems to be never ending, is really only momentary until you choose to extend its existence. Which leads me to the elephant in the room concerning this non-stop bombardment everyone has to endure in this overconnected, overstimulated, and under-fulfilling daily life. Although it's still natural emotions, research and whistleblowers confirm it's a state of mind which leaves us in a weakened and vulnerable state that many are taking advantage of. It makes one's mind easier to control, easier to manipulate, and easier to sell to. So how do you contend and navigate this whirlwind of stimulus? Well, we're going to get to that in just a minute. But before we go there, let's welcome everyone. I see we have some newcomers on the stream. Welcome, welcome. And of course, warm thank you to those who are tuning in every week. You are loved and appreciated. And as a reminder, we have our Down the Rabbit Hole discussion on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And we'll put the registration link in the comments as well as running across the bottom of your screen. But it's hackingtheinfinitymatrix.com/rabbit hole.
I posted it in the comments there, so everybody
should.
Oh,
fantastic! It's a free event. You just register because it's a Zoom link. So that's what that's all about. So, and this is where where we generally start the conversation as a continuation of today's topic, but the participants partake with questions and answers leading deeper and deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. We just love it.
Hey everyone, welcome, welcome. How are you doing? Which is
I'm fine,
essentially,
thank you.
which is essentially asking, how are you feeling? Go ahead and drop in the comments an emotion that you're feeling right now. Okay, go ahead and just drop in the comments the emotion that you're feeling right now. It'll give us an emotional temperature gauge, if you will, of where everyone is at. These questions, how are you doing or how are you feeling, are very common. In fact, I even noticed someone in the comments asked earlier, how's everyone doing, right? They're very common questions that we get and we come upon on a daily basis. Right? So because we inherently understand that emotions drive so much of what we do, what we say, and who we ultimately become. As Dr. Lipton has brought to light with his teachings on biology of belief and epigenetics, it impacts on all levels.
Absolutely.
So let me ask, if this intangible element that we all have, okay, as a human being, you can't opt out of it, okay? We all have it, and it's fluctuating through our consciousness 24/7. It's such a driving force. But how many of you can let me know, how many of you were taught in school or by parents how to master them? Well, think about it, right? What if there was a standard and required class in those formative teenage years called Emotional Stability 101, right? What would the world be like? How would it be different? That's what we're posing. And while you're not in middle school right now, unless, of course, you're tuning in and during a teacher's lecture, if that's the case, or any case, right, this may be the most significant and life-changing 40 minutes of your life. Because today, I'm going to give you a super hack to help you navigate through any of life's emotional whirlwinds to accelerate your ability to master the art of designing your reality. So stick around. It's going to be a great show for you today.
It really is. So the idea is to understand or at least recognize whether the current state of your affairs is sustainable or whether you're tired of it and desire to alter this current reality. As we're told stories about the new normal, I only ask, who's normal? Whose definition? It should always be your normal, as you chose to define it. So when the next whirlwind of the storm hits you, and it will, ask yourself, who am I? Because I'm stronger than this. At that moment, at that very moment, the person that you chose to be is your real self. For at the moment, in that reality, you can mold yourself, your spiritually evolving life force, to be anything. And thus, anything that you create to be real is real. Any vibration of emotionality you are feeling right now is helping to release and balance the center of the self. So don't worry if you are unsure or have hesitation. You know what you are doing and you are processing it just fine. You can choose to be anything that you desire. But those desires don't have a mind of their own, you know. They need substance. They need definition. They need emotional energy, which is the key ingredient. Also, emotions are reactions to something that you believe to be true. If you energetically don't believe the definition, then it's more of a wish than a declaration.
Let me just jump in here, Ross. And so that's why last week we talked about beliefs. So we again, if you look at what we're doing with these streams, we're building so that you have a full system to be in more resourceful states of hacking your reality to get what you want. Right. So there's a reasoning for these again. So the when you look at your belief systems, you can start to understand why you have the certain emotions that you have.
Exactly. And these incongruencies in our belief systems, what we want, but what we actually believe, those are generally the causes of why you may teeter, become unstable, or just simply fall and possibly fail. So if you didn't catch what I just stated, let me summarize this. Everyone is new every moment. So even if there are other people involved, they're creating and recreating this moment for the first time too. This should set you very much at ease because because you always get a do-over. Okay, as opposed to the limiting thinking which dictates failure. Oh, that didn't work, I failed. Instead of, oh, that didn't work, let's try this one. So, and when you hit that failure mode or feel that you hit that failure mode, then old programming and beliefs step in, stating that the only way you will allow all avenues to seem up and good is to be down at rock bottom. So as the new you, know that you can do the things that really excite you in life and that those things really will support you. Know how someone or something affects your emotions. Your mood is solely endorsed by yourself. This doesn't mean to be an emotionless robot, but don't be a rag doll either. Maintain your detachment as we taught you in episode 23, the formula, and feel the emotion. Then decide if it empowers you or not, and then choose. Okay? You're going to think to yourself, no, this doesn't suit me. Or maybe, baby, I'm loving this and I'm going to ride this wave for as long as I can. Those are your choices. Sounds pretty good. As an example, I had a conversation with an associate of mine. It was yesterday, as a matter of fact, and he was telling me how he's having such a great day and everything seemed to be going right until one of his clients called and canceled a big order. And he goes, I went home thoroughly depressed, almost in tears because I worked so hard on this order. And I paced back and forth for hours, barely sleeping. And obviously, he was intent on building his anguish, determined on staying angry. He then sat down and wrote a scathing email to this client. He sent me a copy of it, gloating. Look what I did. And it was definitely scathing. My jaw dropped. So I looked at him, was very quiet. I just kind of walked around him. And I remarked that I don't see any bruises or bandages, no canes or crutches, no missing teeth, no blood. He goes, what the hell are you talking about? And I told him, I says, you act and talk as if you were physically assaulted. And I assume not. You sent an email that will ensure that this man will never return to do business with you again. And I'm assuming that he won't. I said, this ordeal didn't cost you anything. You actually didn't lose anything. Now, granted, some potential income was not realized, but that just leaves a vacuum for someone else to fill for you. I reminded him that the emotion of anger only lasts for 10 to 15 seconds. Anything past that becomes a choice for its continuation.
Yeah.
I then ask, why have you allowed this to control you for the last 16 hours?
Yeah, let me just interject here, Ross. Everybody needs to
Please.
get this. Everybody think really needs to get this, right? Scientifically, they've proven you cannot have an emotion longer than 10 to 15 seconds in your body. So let's stop. Everybody, whatever emotion, 15 seconds maximum. After that, it's a choice.
Exactly. You can't stress this enough. So, and then on top of that, then I said, do you think that that it's possible that this hyper focus on this one event may have possibly caused you to miss out on other potential opportunities? So, and then when I said that to him, his posture kind of relaxed because he had the realization of his actions and inactions. So you see, it's an odd state of affairs with our emotions when we seem to trust more in the negative ones than the positive ones. Some of you feel more comfortable in this disempowered state. Why is that? Is it because it's so commonplace? Such an ingrained habit? Regardless of what you are thinking, the emotion you are feeling right now is a choice. You chose to feel this way. Your emotions don't have a mind of their own. You are simply choosing to believe that. And that's your choice to believe. That's your definition. And it's your definition that gives them such great independent power. They don't actually have any power except when you give it. Then that power can move mountains or demolish lives. Pure and simple. Let's not complicate this. So, in other words, the emotions will only flare up in that sense when you believe most strongly in making the choice that they can act autonomously. Then they become unconscious habits. As soon as you start asking yourself, wait a minute, I'm empowering them? They get their power from me. They don't have any other source. So I must be choosing to activate them in this way. Why would I want to choose to activate them like this if I don't prefer it? Why would I choose this scenario? It must be something that I believe in. It must be a definition I've brought into this. Do I prefer this definition? Yes or no? Another choice. Well, okay. No, I don't. All right. Then what definition do I prefer? Oh, this one. Then, since I know my definitions are what have created my reality, I can assume that my new definitions will create a new reality. After all, it's always worked this way. Always. So when you wonder about deflecting the influence and manipulation from the outer world, you need to understand what definition you have that allows those emotional strings to be tugged on and pulled at on your inner world. Once that is in place, your ability to stay temporarily detached will form, let's say, a protective layer, a protective shell around you. Or as Gary would say, ray shields. So now you're asking yourself, oh man, that's a lot to relearn for every situation. How am I going to do that? Here's the secret. You already are. You already have this process down to the T. You already use this mechanism. You have never not used it. You and it function perfectly. The state of your life is your perfect example, whichever, however it is. Okay, there's no judgment here. You always get what you most strongly believe you will. That's called manifesting. Anytime you invest energy into one particular point of view, it's going to generate a self-perpetuating cycle of expansion. Anybody know what that is? The ripple effect. You just need to insert the emotion that you wish to ripple, a negative or a positive one. It's your choice. You make the choice to believe. And when you make the choice, that's what you get. Because that's what you transmitted to the infinity matrix. Remember, it's neutral. It doesn't care what you send. It's just designed to send more of it back to you. So those days when it seems that you're out of control, you are creating that situation. You stepped out of the eye and into the storm. You forgot you're in control of creating the illusion that you're out of control. You always control it. It can't be any other way. There's no other source of energy other than the energy that comes through you to empower anything that has to do with you. It doesn't come from outside because there is no outside. So now Gary's going to do some of his famous word scope and has crafted an amazing super hack to assist you on your journey through the storm and into the eye.
So, why is it then, you may be asking, why is it then if I'm in control, although always, then why does it feel like I'm not in control of the emotions? And there's a lot of variables to that. One is because sometimes it can seem, if you start to tune in to the emotions you're actually feeling on a regular moment-to-moment basis, it can be overwhelming. And for the conscious mind, it doesn't like overwhelm, right? It likes things simplified. It likes things generalized. It likes to put things into boxes, if you will, so that it's absorbable in that way. So when there's too much, it says, no, let's just leave the unconscious mind take care of all of that. And the problem with that is that then you're at the whim of whatever is going on in your environment that can impact or affect your unconscious mind. Right. And so the first step that and the hack I'm going to go through, I'm going to give you some screen, put some stuff on the screen so you can actually look at it. I'm going to talk through some of the pieces of it first, and then we'll go through it. But the hack I'm going to give you today, to really hack your emotional loops, it's a very, very powerful one, but it does require a little bit of work on your part. Okay. Much like any of the other hacks that we've given in the last year and change. Right. The first thing we want to do is we want to, first of all, get to the understanding, or at least the possibility of accepting that, yes, I do control my emotions, good, bad, or indifferent. They're by choice. That's the first step. And that's kind of what Ross was kind of laying the foundation for. Right. Then when you've done that, then we say, okay, well, if that's the case, well, then let's take inventory. Now, someone had mentioned, let me see if I just go back to the comments here. Someone had mentioned earlier, I think it was Kathy. Okay, so Kathy said, question, before placing building blocks, what about cleaning up the emotional house? So the challenge with that type of thinking, Kathy, is that if we're going to clean up an emotional house, it means that you've got emotions in there that are not useful. And that's not accurate. What we want to do is we want to get the learning or the lesson or the reason for that emotion there, and then choose if we keep, because if there's an emotion of fear, right? And again, this is all coming together because if you guys listen to our streams, right? A few weeks ago, we talked about fear, right? If you have an emotion of fear, right, and you are in an alley and you turn the corner and there's a lion there, you don't want to clear that emotion out of the house. Right? So what we need to do is put it. We need to put it in its place. We need to we need to be in a place where we can make those emotions more resourceful for us at the right times, because all emotions can serve us. Otherwise, we wouldn't have them. Okay. And it's when they go on autopilot and then we end up in these these whirlwinds of turmoil and despair and all that kind of stuff. That's when it becomes a challenge. That's when, yes, you step in and even then it's not that we're clearing the house. It's that we're saying, what are the emotions and how do we transform them so that it's a redecorating instead of a complete clearing out? Okay, and hopefully that makes sense to you. So if we're going to redecorate, if you will, if we use the same analogy, then first we need to take inventory of what is there, the good, bad, and the difference, and all the variations of that. So the first thing we're gonna do, and Ross, I'm gonna pop you out here and then bring up the slide here. And by the way, we will have let's see, I'm gonna hide that and then add this one in. We will have these forms available for you to download and grab. We're going to put it in the Facebook private group. Let me just throw that link up, and you can go there and register for it. Okay, here we go. I'm going to post it in. So it's facebook.com/groups/the Infinity Matrix. And we will be posting there's going to be 2 sheets that I'm going to be sharing with you today. Okay, so this first one. All right. So if you want to get access to this so you can use it for additional practice and exercising, then go to hackingtheinfinitematrix.com, and I put it in the comments, /groups/the Infinite Matrix. Answer the 3 entry questions so you can be automatically accepted. If you don't answer them all, the system will bounce you and you won't get in right away. Okay, so make sure you do that, and you'll be able to get this, and additional stuff we'll be posting in there. So first thing is we want to do is we want to take inventory of what emotions you have. So if you were to do this on a regular basis, what you would start to do is start to map out the range of emotions that you feel on a regular basis. So what you do is you have like the form you're seeing here. In column 1, we're going to write down the list of emotions you feel on a daily basis in the negative column. Okay, just random. Again, no judgment on this stuff, and don't try to be all, it's always rainbows and unicorns. It's just not the reality, right? So whatever, be honest and integral with yourself and say, hey, yeah, sometimes I feel frustrated. Sometimes I feel angry. Sometimes I feel this or that, whatever. Sometimes I feel joy. Sometimes I'm inspired. Whatever they are, write down the negative stuff, right? Whatever degree of negative it is for you, okay? And then on the other side, you write down the positive stuff. So write down what are all the positive emotions you feel on a regular basis, on a daily basis. And I would suggest you do this over a period of 3 or 4 days at least. Okay. And then when you do that, it starts to give you a picture of all the different emotions that you're feeling. And this can be one of 2 things. One, it can show you the variety, the wide variety that you're experiencing, if that's the case. The other is, and maybe it's more than 2, it'll show you a wide variety, but it can also show you the imbalance of emotions, where they're more negative or more positive. Okay. And it can show you also sometimes the limited amount of emotions you actually feel, which tends to be what the common thing is. right? Because commonly what we'll do is we'll take one emotion, and then anything that's similar to it, we'll just kind of categorize and put it into that same bucket, if you will. Right? So anything that's related to anxiety goes in the anxiety bucket, even though it may be anger or frustration or disappointment. It goes into that one bucket that kind of consumes so many others. We want to start to strip away and kind of find out what are all the different emotions. Okay, and the different variations of them, and what are they called? That's really what we want to get to, because then you start to see the full picture. Okay, can't transform something you can't be that you can't become aware of. So the first step is becoming aware of what's going on. So in one column, you can write down all the negative emotions, all the positive side, all the positive emotions. Okay, do that for a period of 3 or 4 days. I would suggest, if you haven't already started, because we've talked about in a few streams in the past, is to start a journal. Okay, and in that journal, maybe in your daily end of the day, what are the emotions that I felt today on the negative side? What are the emotions I feel on the positive side? And just kind of go from there. Okay, now that's the first thing, is become aware. Second thing is to understand that all emotions have a strategy. We've developed strategy in our mind of how we're going to create that particular emotion compared to any other. It has its own very specific recipe. Okay, so we need to look at what that is. In order for you, if you pick an emotion, so someone had wrote earlier, feeling okay, yeah. So dealing with compounded delayed grief. Okay, so let's just pick one of those emotions, Kathy. So Kathy put a whole bunch of different things in. Let's say we pick grief. Okay, and we use that as an example here. So in order for you to feel grief, and also in order for you to feel calm, tranquility, peace, whatever, you have to have a certain sequence of patterns of steps that you have to take mentally, emotionally, and physically for that to manifest, and for you to keep it coming back over and over after the 15 seconds. Okay, so we need to look at what is the recipe you've created to feel grief. Is it something you saw? Is it something you heard? Is it something that that you physically felt? Is it internal, external? Is it a thought? Is it a something you heard internally, or something someone said to you? Is it or that you heard on the news or TV or radio or wherever, that started the next thing, that then created a visual of this particular thing, and then that visual then stimulated certain neurochemicals in the body to create this emotion? There is a pattern for that where it says A plus B plus C equals D. We all have them for every emotion. Okay, and every emotion you feel, and every different degree of that emotion has its very own specific recipe. So what we want to do is we're going to start to investigate. We want to investigate, okay, for grief, if we're going to use that example, how do you, for that particular experience of grief that you were talking about, how did you cook that up? Okay, what were the ingredients that you put in, and what were the order that you put them in for that particular shade or flavor or taste of grief? Okay, and this gets you out of the emotional part of it, and looking at we're stepping at looking at it as an observer, right? We're stepping, okay, well, I noticed it's there. Well, let's look at it from a place where we're not it anymore. We're out of it, and we're looking at it. We're observing and saying, okay, well, that's this particular emotion. Is it serving me is the next question. Once you know the pattern, then you say, is it serving me right now? And if yes, then wallow in it, enjoy it, do it, as long as it's serving you. If the answer is no, it's not serving me anymore, it's reducing my ability to do this, it's reducing my ability to be with others, to be authentic, to be in my empowered state, it's preventing me from taking action. If it's doing anything that restricts or limits you, then it's probably not serving you anymore, right? And so we ask the question, is it serving me? And if it is, that's okay. At least you now know the pattern. for when it's not serving you. Because when it's not serving you, then all you need to do is you need to change one of the ingredients, the A, B, the B, or the C, or any of the in-betweens of that, and then the D has no choice but to be different. Neurochemically and biologically, it has no choice but to be a different emotion than the one you cooked up before. And when you can make even a slight shift, that gives you, at a conscious as well as an unconscious level, awareness that, hey, I can make change. And if you can make a small change, you can continue to make more small changes until it's something completely different altogether. Okay. Instead of trying to go from black to white, we want to go, well, maybe it's black or maybe it's white, and we need to go a little bit darker to, beige, and then turn it to different color to, gray, and then shades of gray, and then get over to black, or the other way, whatever direction that you need to move it into. Okay. And so the idea first is to understand what the emotions are, then look at what the ingredients are, and just kind of do some investigation. Okay, how did I feel that? How do I know that that's what I'm feeling? What's the evidence that that's what I'm feeling? Well, I know that because I feel this here. Okay, how did I feel that? Well, I thought about this thing, or I said this to myself, or someone said this to me, or I saw this image and it shocked me, and whatever. Right? Or the opposite, or I saw this image or I heard the sound of this thing, and I just automatically felt my body sink into this calm, centered, serene place. Okay? And so go through your emotions and start to look at what they are as far as the ingredients are, and write down what the strategy is. Just pick one at a time. I'm not telling you to do them all because that's overwhelming. Pick one and say, okay, what's my strategy for that emotion? And then pick for the positive side. Pick one on the positive side and figure out what the strategy is for that. And why would you want to do it for the positive? Because if you're having a positive emotion of joy, and you know what the strategy is, if you know what the recipe is for a positive emotion that you want to feel more often, when you're not feeling it, just cook it up. Okay, you have choice. Look at what the strategy is for joy and go back to doing that strategy. And even better, what you can do is you can tweak it, and we'll get into more of that in some of the master labs that we do and additional trainings and stuff in 2022. But once you know the strategy, you can then go in and tweak things to increase it. So joy becomes ecstasy. So ecstasy becomes mind-blowing passion. I mean, you can make these shifts so it just transforms literally in minutes or seconds. But again, if you're not aware of what they are or how they come about, then you're not going to be able to transform it. So that's the first step in navigating the emotional whirlwinds. All right. Now the second one, let me take that out. Now what you want to do is, and this may help also with you, Kathy. So what you want to do is you want to then look at, in this image, you're going to notice there's 3 circles, right? So the top one in the upper right is neutral emotions. And the middle left is empowering emotions, and the bottom right is disempowering emotions. What we want to do is we want to move our emotions in the direction away from the negative, disempowering ones, so that we become more in empowered states. And that means either going to a neutral one or right over to a fully empowered one. So you may find it too big of a shift to go from guilt to optimism, right? It may be too big of a shift, but you could possibly go from guilt to pessimism. It's a smaller shift, right? So then you think of, how do I create pessimism? What am I pessimistic about? And you figure out that strategy, and then you move towards experiencing that, or even disappointment or doubt or things that are not as hardwired and have as much emotional, energetic juice, if you will, right? The ones in the disempowered, the blame, the discouragement, the anger, revenge, hatred, rage. I mean, just you listen to the sound and the vibration of them, right? Jealousy, insecurity, guilt, unworthiness, fear, grief, depression, despair, powerlessness. just even the energetics of saying them, you can feel the soul's connection to the impact that can have, right? And how that's different from boredom, pessimism, frustration, irritation, impatience, overwhelm, disappointment, doubt, worry. Okay, it's a different degree of emotional or energetic charge. So what we want to do is move to a place where we're more empowered, because to get to the empowered stuff, sometimes you need to go to the neutral first, and then it's an easier transition to make that bridge over to the empowered ones. Okay, so the first thing is to figure out which ones you are, where you are in the grid here, and then say, okay, now what can I do to go over to something that's neutral? All right, well, let's try that. And then from neutral, what do I do from there to get to something that's empowered? If you can make a big shift, if you have the capacity, once you know your strategies and you're good at this, you can make the shift from disempowered right to empowered like that by choice. Okay, but it does become some practice that you need to do and work on until you get good at it, just like anything else. And that's how you start to navigate through the emotions that you're feeling, and know that once you start to do this, you're gonna really start to feel more empowered, because you feel you're in choice more often. Things aren't going to trigger you as much, or if they do, you'll be able to catch them and say, hey, I'm going to trigger something different. Okay, so that's your hack for today. And I strongly suggest that you jump in the group, grab those sheets. We're gonna put it up after the stream is done here, and utilize them and start to play with and see how you can start to then turn this way, turn that way, and shift, alter, and adjust your emotions to become more empowered. Okay, Facebook.com/groups/the Infinity Matrix. Answer the 3 questions that show up, and you'll be automatically, I just put it in the comments again, you'll be able to automatically be accepted. And again, if you don't answer them all, the system does bounce you, so you won't get in and get access right away. All right. That's our stream for today, everyone. So to get the replay for this and all other streams and even the rabbit holes that we do, you can go to hackingtheinfinitymatrix.com/replays. Okay, let me just throw that into the screen there for replay. There we go. All right, so it's on the screen. So hackingtheinfinitymatrix.com/replays, and you can catch all of our previous streams there. And you can even binge on previous episodes. If we know a few members keep telling us they've watched them over and over a few times. Let me bring Ross back in here. All right, there we go. And thank you so much for joining us on the stream every week. Remember, you can also have more extended conversations and interactions with us on Saturday mornings, as Ross talked about, 8 a.m. PST on Down the Rabbit Hole segment. All you need to do is go to hackingtheinfinitymatrix.com/rabbit hole to register for the Zoom link for that. Come and join us and listen in, or better yet, participate in some of the most stimulating and thought-provoking conversations you'll have this week, or even this month, or even this year. You'll be happy you did, and you just might get hooked and start coming every Saturday. All right.
It's our favorite time of the week.
We're definitely getting more people joining in every week. So now it's your turn if you haven't already been there.
Absolutely.
So till next time, everyone, be well. Remember, we dare you to be exceptional, implement these hacks, and master the art of designing your reality. Be well.